You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now, welcome your host, Ken Lain.
I had mentioned fruit trees that grow up at higher elevations, up in the mountains. So it was apples, pears, cherries, peaches, nectarines, apricots, almonds do really well. A few walnuts, pecans, not so much up here. Citrus, definitely not. And so those fruit trees grow here. The thing with fruit trees is they need pollinators. They need a buddy. So if you love honey crisp apples, you're going to need a pollinator for it to actually produce fruit. It's got to pollinate each other. It's got a male, one's got a male, one's got a female, and they pollinate, and the bees do all the work. And all of a sudden, you've got more apples. You can't have a Honeycrisp cross-pollinate another Honeycrisp. It's got to be a different variety. So Gala, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith's, Macintosh, they all pollinate. They're the opposite. And so they help each other. So you need the opposite. Some trees will say self-fruitful. A lot of pitted fruits, peaches, all the apricots are self-fruitful. They got male and female flowers on the same plant, so the bees buzz around. They pollinate the whole tree. And so there you only need one. But most cherries, pears, apples, plums, they need a different variety. And so you need some space to grow these. Well, lots are getting smaller and smaller. And so what we've done is we've now created what's called a fruit cocktail tree. So if you hear cocktail tree, that's where we have grafted several varieties of apples on one trunk. One trunk is growing Granny Smith, Honey Crisp, Gala, Macintosh on the same tree. So now you've got one tree that pollinates itself. It's not natural. We've created this by grafting limbs into that hardy rootstock. And so you'll see a fruit cocktail tree. Or we've some varieties, we've planted 3 trees in one bucket, and they grow up into one giant trunk with three it's actually 3 trees. Sometimes we'll braid them together. We can have fun with that. I mean, literally, we get bored with plants sometimes. You're going, what can we do? We could create this. And so you'll see fruit cocktail trees at the garden center. This is one that if you're considering that, or you've only have room for one tree, but you want fruit on it, that's the way to go. That's when you do not want to wait. These are so specialized. They're going to be on average 7 to 12 years old trees. So we started these things, way back in the middle of 2015. They're finally here, and so we run out. It's not like you hit a button and the machine cranks out more. So you get good selection now, good varieties, good sizes, and you get to cherry pick the best quality ones by shopping early. You don't want to wait until May or June or July. I'll be out. I'll have single apple. I'll have straight Honeycrisp, but I won't have the fruit cocktail apples that have multiple varieties on the same tree. So it's a limited supply of those kind of trees. You want to catch them early. Last year, I completely ran out. We tried to go grab some more. I called some friends and said, hey, you got any fruit cocktail trees up there at the farm? Found a few more and then completely ran out. And so we've got a few more this year because I think it's because the size of the yards are just smaller. And so we go over all of that. So classes, real quick. Every Saturday at 9:30, we have free garden classes. Today, this weekend, it's the 17th. It is gardening for newcomers. Next week is evergreens that bloom early. So we'll cover all those evergreens that have flowers on them. And then the spring to-do list, March 2nd. So every Saturday, take a look at those at watersgardencenter.com. You can take a look and get those in too. Subscribe to my newsletter. At the front of watersgardencenter.com, there's subscribe. I write a weekly garden column, do daily podcast. Join if you want to know more about gardening. It's a great source. Throughout the week, Lisa and I camp out here at Waters Garden Center. We love talking to fans of the show. Waters Garden companion plants of February are Calgary carpet juniper, lily of the valley, pinyon pines, and peony.
Your grandmother would fall in love with these larger peony with so many colors to choose from.
There's nothing like the enormous flowers to add stunning pops of color.
Endearing springtime blooms are more than fragrant with luscious double flowers.
Shop the most perennial peonies in Prescott by store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.